This is Coach Butler, Rice University pole vault coach and author of the Pole Vault, a violent ballet, which is releasing in April. And so today he's going to be talking to us about the elasticity of takeoff. And he's got lots of great things to share, and I know many of you are here to soak it all in. So I'm going to pass it over to Coach Butler right now, and he's going to take over the screen.
I will. How's that? Wait.
Just wait.
Is that good?
That is good.
All right. Very good. So I guess we'll get started with this madness. Welcome, everybody. So when we were talking about this, the first thing that came to mind, I know most of the time I'm talking about pole drop and everything, but this time I'm just going to narrow it down to talking about box strike and elasticity in the pole vault, the importance of it. So the reason I'm talking about this is I look at a lot of programs around. I get a lot of videos and everything, and I have a lot of kids coming in with this great big giant left arm. And what these guys are doing with the big left arm is force bending the pole. And it bends the pole a little lower, and it bends the pole differently, and it doesn't necessarily move the pole. And so I'm going to talk about what moves the pole, and the term I use is elasticity, or elastic and takeoff. So this is going back in time. This is Václav Katsukevich, Olympic champion 1980. And what he is doing with his bottom arm, with it wrapped around his face, I consider to be the perfect technique of beginning to learn to be elastic and allowing the body to enter the pole and become the pole and be able to develop the right movements in the air. So I'll share with you a couple other shots. I hope everybody can see this. On the left is Mondo de Planis. Beautiful open position. The body is entering the pole. Left arm slightly bent. And then on the right is one of my middle school kids I work with, taking off in the same manner, the same kind of position that I'm looking for. So many might say that this left arm is weak and it should be stronger, but I disagree. I believe that you have to look at the jump and all the jumps throughout history and realize that elasticity is a very important thing and it moves the pole fast. So if everybody can see me, I'll use one of my paintbrushes. What I mean by moving the pole is I'm trying to get it to move fast this way. So I don't care how much it bends. I want it to move and accelerate fast, whether it bends or not. And this really is started with a lot of straight pole vaulting, especially in the developmental years. So I've kind of narrowed down, well, let's talk about elastic first. What is elastic? Well, elastic is when the left arm the left fist is basically in a vertical line through your hips. So you're kind of going into this window and you're opening the body up into the bend of the pole, and essentially the body pushes the pole towards vertical. So you're able to use the whole body when you get your left arm out of the way. I'm really never concerned about how much the pole bends. I'm concerned about how much the pole accelerates and moves off the takeoff, whether it bends a lot or not. So I really believe that if you get the left hand out of the way, that you're going to discover that the kids will swing faster, swing higher, move the pole better and deeper so they can raise their grip. So I've kind of put together three, this is what retired art teachers do. Block is basically that the left arm and the shoulders and the arms are just totally solid iron and everything stops and very static. You're force bending the pole to get it out of the way, and then you have to break this left arm, break the pressure off to get upside down. It's an okay technique. A lot of people do it, but I really believe it's a shortcut, and it's sooner or later, blockers and breakers get to the point where they get a plateau and they just can't get better. So I don't believe it's really efficient. but it is a way of pole vaulting. Then you have vertical blockers, or what I call strong elastic. So even though the bottom arm is pretty much straight, it still moves from the shoulders and still gets to a vertical 12 o'clock position, which again allows the body into the pole, allows the hips to be engaged and get the pole moving initially. So vertical blocking, especially with a narrow grip, really, really works. I recently been working for the past year with a world-class vaulter who used to block about 2 o'clock. And now with a little narrower grip, she's totally like this figure here. And she PR'd and went 15.7, which is, what is that, 465, 470, 470. So vertical block can work. If you want to look at a good model, it's Gatalin. If you want to study a nice narrow gripped vertical block, or what I call strong elastic. And then finally, classic elastic essentially is the left arm bending a little bit more. Classic elastic can be called soft elastic or a little softer. There's still pressure against the pole as you enter the pole, but you see a little bit more of a bend in the left arm. Now, what I've discovered through the years is that when you get that left arm out of the way, initially off the ground, what happens is that the pole starts moving toward the crossbar that split second before it bends. So it's a very powerful position that when you strike with full extension with both arms, I call that making space. Maybe I need my broom pole here. That if you make as much space as possible and then enter the pole by bending the arm and keeping the shoulders moving, allowing the body to come into the bend, it really gets the pole to accelerate as it's bending. It really gets it to move. So it's like, some people call it pole speed. So if you look at this little drawing that I did, again, an ex-art teacher has a lot of fun when you have a lot of time in your hands. A lot of people really believe this big giant split with the big giant knee drive and this arm stopping and forcing the pole is a good thing to do. And again, it's a way of vaulting, but I look for more of the knee kind of facing the box, a little bit more down so that the hips are more pronounced and moving. And then I'm looking for this left arm here kind of moving up above the head, or at least in line with the torso and the hips. So this one is what I look for. And I really think it's a beautiful position when they do that, vault like that. So let me show you a couple of examples of getting the pole moving by being elastic. This is a young Potapovich in his junior worlds. Space, elastic, and then begin to realign and get the hips moving, getting the pole moving. So you should be seeing the pole just roll and move as he hits the takeoff and hits the box. So that left arm is more of a classic elastic position. I really think that's a beautiful position. The body opens underneath the pole and the pole moves and accelerates. So you're really moving the pole with the whole body, not just the bottom arm. Hips are engaged, the hips take off and get the pole moving, and then realignment is when you really hit both arms straight again, really forwards and upwards, and that keeps the center of gravity away from the pole, keeps it bent. So I really think this is a beautiful jump. I don't really look at knee drive, I look at hips. And so that's what I'm looking for, is the whole body opening into the box. Here's another one that was done at night with one of my former athletes. So again, look at how the pole is moving as it's bending, before it's bending. Both arms are up, elastic, hips are moving and accelerating into the pole. I think this is the essence of it, being able to get on a stiffer pole and raising the grip when you get that pole moving with a lot of force with the whole body. So that's really what I'm looking for. I never really care about the pole bending. What I look for with my guys, and again, we get back to Sergei, that nobody knows who Sergei is, but you're making space with full extension at the takeoff of both arms. That gets the pole's angle as high as possible. Then as he's taking off and striking the box, the body opens up. Left arm bends up above the head, through the hips. Both shoulders are moving. The body is moving into the pole. And I think that's a very dynamic position. And I'm going to show a little bit later. Most people have done it throughout history, vault history, on bamboo. So I hope I'm not going too fast here. So elasticity in the pole vault comes from pole vault history. The guys on bamboo and metal had to learn to move the pole to vertical so they could land in their pit. The pit was upturned dirt, it was sand, it was sawdust, or a combination of those three. So they had to really get the pole accelerating. And so if you look at Warmerdam, which is one of the greatest that ever lived, you're going to see that full elastic extension of the arms and takeoff and getting the pole moving. So you see where the shoulders are fully extended and open so the hips initiate the swing. So it really comes from pole vault history that if you do some straight pole vaulting and be patient with the kids' improvement, they will start to develop the right mechanics to get the pole moving when it starts to bend. And I'm going to show you a little bit later how we develop it. So that's a beautiful jump. The whole body opens, gets the pole accelerated, and then moves the pole and accelerates the swing. This is Tavanchik. It's a German coach now, Olympic bronze medalist. So again, you see that the left arm is bending in a vertical line with his hips. And then as he starts to realign, the hips accelerate, the swing accelerates, and then he begins his swing. So that initial bending of the left arm and the body moving really gets the pole moving. This is Fabiana Muir. She has a more of a strong elastic or a vertical block, but the one thing about the best vertical blockers is that they keep pressure against the pole with the left arm throughout the swing, and then they don't break until the very last moment. So she has a beautiful open extension of the arms to vertical, and then keeps pressure until her hips are accelerating up through her arms. And then Tim Mack, another strong elastic takeoff, an opening of the body, strong, a little bit more pressure, a little bit more extension off the takeoff. That gets the pole moving. And then we get back to Volkov, which is more classic elastic. A little bit more softer with the left arm there off the takeoff. The body moves into the pole, gets the pole moving, and then he can realign and swing. Gets beautifully inverted off of that. Markov, world champion. Beautiful presentation of the plant. Jumps. Left arm bends slightly, then he begins realigning right off the ground, which is what the better vaulters do nowadays, is they realign right off the ground. And then he's able to get in an invert position. Sergei Bubka, of course, you guys know that there's no way I'm going to not have a presentation without showing Sergei. Makes the full extension space off the ground, elastically comes in and then realigns to get the invert. And then finally, our boy Mondo. Elastic. Then as his hips and swing starts to initiate, he starts to realign with the arms, re-hollows out, keeps pressure forwards and upwards, and then swings through the arms. And that keeps that pole bent so that you can get your hips right on top of the bend. Now these are recent French meet, world-class men. So I know that a lot of women are blocking right now, but again, you have to look at it that they're not female or male. You have to look at it that they're just 15-foot vaulters or 15-6 vaulters, and you can get away with that blocking. I believe if they were a little bit more elastic and had a little bit more movement of the shoulders and arms into the pole, they would jump higher. So these are some men in the French meet. And I'm looking for a common denominator. Are they elastic? Are they entering the pole? And they are. And so every one of them in this film is about 11 jumpers. have a slight bend in their arm. They can be strong elastic or soft elastic or vertical blockers. I think that Barber is just sheer beauty right here. And I also believe that Kendricks is too, with the openness of his body. And then Mondo, a little wider grip, so it looks a little bit more blocky. Lavellini, Lysick. I can't even pronounce his name. I'm so sorry. I apologize, guys. From Poland, Braz. And then our boy Kendricks. And that's a beautiful open position, chest and hips entering the pole, accelerating the pole right off the takeoff. And then this is a drill that I've known. I call it the blast, but it's a non-swinging drill. And if you take your kids out whenever this madness is over and there's no virus, if you have them come in and block with a big left arm and roll the pole over, and then have them have movement into the pole and be a little bit more elastic and do the same thing, what will happen is the pole will react like a whip, and it'll pop the vaulter up and flip them like they can do a front flip. So I really think that's a great drill to know the difference about how the pole reacts when you're elastic and when you're not. And if you go out and try it, I think you'll find that the pole will whip faster and move faster when you give a little bit and get later. So again, a little drawing I talk about, I'm looking for more of a bent left arm moving into the takeoff with the knee not so pronounced, just a quick short block of the knee with the hips, focusing on the hips. Now, how do we get there? How do you take kids that are jumping 6, 7 feet, 12 feet? How do you get them to develop this movement or mechanics of accelerating the pole by being more elastic? Well, what we do, I use 3 grips. So I'm going to turn this sound off here. These are 2 Japanese guys who came in for a training camp with me. And so I have the kids hold low at first, back up 4 steps. And this is going to be 4 to 10 steps. And they use the regular normal grip to start out with. Then they'll do a really narrow grip. I'm going to scroll. Foot apart. Everybody hear me? And then finally, they will hand shift. And they'll hand shift just like the guys did back in the 40s. They will shift the bottom end up to the top to get full extension of both arms. So I really believe when you're doing a pop-up without the bar, that both arms need to be up. That you enter the left arm, whether it's right above the head or more extended, to really get the pole moving. All pop-ups need to be both arms up, not just one arm. So now they hand shift, so they go through the sequence. They're doing it in just a half hour, but this could be 4 or 5 weeks of doing this a couple days a week and then adding a bungee. So we do 4 steps, 6 steps, 8 steps. And by the time they get back to 8 or 10 with a short pole, the pole starts bending naturally. So this is not pretty because this is the first time that one of the athletes did it. Can you hear me, Joel?
Yes,
Sit down. Lay down, Blue.
Yes, I can.
Lay down. Good girl. Good girl.
Just a minute. I gotta.
Yeah. So what we're looking for is movement into the pole. These guys tend to stop a little bit. Then they get to raise the grip. So
Coach
now
Butler.
They get a regular grip. Then a little bit narrower grip now with both hands a little closer together. I think narrow grip is a really great thing to do. It really gets the kids to feel how to move that pole, not bend that pole. Then they'll back up some more. So if you're doing straight pull like we do in the fall, we'll do 2 days a week, straight pull, and the session will be maybe a half hour, not very long, just real clean quality work, not quantity. So now they're back, I think maybe 8 steps, I'm not sure. And now the pole will start bending. And they're bending because the whole body is moving into the pole, becoming the pole. And we do a lot of this in the fall to develop it. And we do about 1 day a week straight pull during the season. Or whenever someone is technically struggling, we go back to the straight pull and find out what's really going on with their jump. What's great about narrow grip too is that you have to keep the tip up and keep the tip active. I'm not going to talk about pole drop, that's a whole nother presentation, but it really enhances the ability to turn over and have the pole accelerate, tip accelerate into the takeoff, so it seems weightless and it allows you to get a high elastic plant. And this is his first day of doing this. I was really proud of him. So this is there's no run throughs during this session. It's just takeoffs. We're just looking for swinging really fast. Once you hit the box and open, you just swing as fast as you can. Now here's a more narrower grip. He moved real deep, so we'd raise his grip. So coaches, you got to get the left hand out of the way. Let the whole body move the pole. Hope you guys aren't asleep. That was beautiful.
They're all here.
They're all here? Okay, good. Okay. So I'm looking for an active tip where the tip never freezes. It's always moving. Taking off on. He'd go to the next pole, a little bit higher grip, blowing up poles. So that, short poles are invaluable to a program to get a lot of work done. So again, we go through the regular grip they're comfortable with. We go a narrow grip about a foot apart, and then we go hand shifting where the bottom hand shifts up to the top and swing. He blew that up big time. That's kind of what we do in the fall. August, September, part of October. A lot of straight pole work, a lot of slightly bending pole work. This is one of my former athletes that was really struggling taking off. And I wanted to show that by the time we had a session about 20 minutes of getting his left arm out of the way, he started to take off free. And he really, really is able to make a lot of space with his arms when he's taking off free. So that's kind of the sequence we use. As far as drills, we do a pole pop, which is we elastic, swing to the top, and get the pole to pop and jump out of the box. Want to run that again, guys?
Yes.
Elastic, swing to the top, get the pole to pop right out of the box. So you're not trying to break the left arm prematurely. You're trying to realign and swing and go right to the top of the pole, make the pole jump. So we call it pole poppers. Boom. From another side. So you can really get, if you pull prematurely, you won't get that pop. You have to realign and keep pressure all the way through the swing and just get to invert. Fast jumps. Open up off the ground elastically and then strike and hit it as fast as you can. Boom. Quick. One more time before you guys fall asleep. Need coffee. So we call those pole poppers. Make the pole pop out of the box. Make it a fast jump. And then what we do is we add a crossbar and put it up really high and see if they can tag it. Do it with a little bit of a turn. Always looking for fast jumps, always being elastic and swinging fast. And we just add a little bit of a turn. This is done all over the world. I've seen this for many years. I used to think that Huvian developed it, but it was Krasinski from Poland. So we're just trying to make the pole move fast, not really worried about how much it bends, trying to make it move fast so that the body is in this full invert on top of a bend, not on top of a straight pole. So if you do this correctly, pole's going to stay bent, you're going to get on top of the bend and get that pop. There you go. So I'm going to finish this presentation. I hope we haven't gone too quickly with a really cool photograph. And this is a Japanese vaulter that's jumping here on the top one on bamboo, on metal here, and on fiberglass here. And I'm going to blow it up just a little bit. There's the bamboo taking off nearly free, elastic, swinging fast the top of the pole. And what I look for is that the jumps look the same. There's not a lot of difference. Here's the metal pole bending a little bit, similar takeoff. Wouldn't do that if he kept his left arm straight. Wouldn't move the metal pole at all, no way. And then finally on the fiberglass, same positions. So I really believe that the pole vault has been around for many, many years. And if you look at the history of the jumps, everybody's pretty much doing similar things. And so it's not really changed, except they get to hold a little higher now and the pole bends a little bit more. So we're looking for that position there off the ground, whether you're on a straight pole or if you're on a bending pole. I really think this is a great model to see the three jumps, same vaulter on three different poles. I love it. So what I did is I put together a film, and so we're going to finish up. I tried to count how many elastic vaulters I could find, whether a strong elastic or soft elastic or classic, and I found about 160 of them, and I only found a handful of blockers at the world-class level from 1940 on. And so, when I see that we're talking over 95% of the vaulters are elastic, I think that's something we need to pay attention to. So that is it. Badip, that's all, folks. You can ring the gong, hit the gong, it's over. You guys have survived. There we go.
Well, we got some questions for you, David. So
very good.
It's not totally over yet.
Okay, it's not over. Oh,
you're gonna let that run, and then we're gonna address these questions, right?
Okay.
So, just going back here, so this is a question: is the classic elastic position a result of stiffer poles or inside takeoff opposed to a strong elastic, or is it practice technique? So how does a vaulter, get a classic elastic or a soft elastic, or is that like?
That's a good question. No, most of these classic elastic or more of a softer elastic, they're taken off free, just like the guys that are stronger elastic. But what it is that it's developed through a period of time from when you're on a straight pole to slightly bending to bending the pole. So it's really evidence of how they develop naturally. It's almost a natural process. So it's some guys feel like they need to put a little bit more pressure against the pole. That's what they feel they need to do. Others are a little bit forgiving with the left arm. And then, that takes everything to the top hand. And I really think that moves the pole better. So it's not that they're taking off under, they're taking off on. They just don't have as much space and pressure off the ground against the pole with the bottom arm.
Another question. Go ahead.
Well, I have old film of a coach that's teaching, and he has the guy released with his left arm, and he's kind of spotting him, and the pole's just bent, and it just looks totally natural. He's just hanging from the pole like a bat. I really think that you get the left arm out of the way, I think good things happen.
Another question was, do you have any stretches or drills to help develop that elasticity or that elastic position?
And that's a really good question. I do. I have a whole bunch of drills. You can use med ball throws, PVC pipe, about a 14-foot long, 1-inch PVC is great to work on that. A lot of boys don't have shoulder flexibility. So you have to get that flexibility through work in the weight room and with elastic bands and range of motion stuff, gymnastic stuff, to be able to get that. The girls tend to be really flexible, but they don't have strength. So I have to build strength with girls typically and build flexibility with guys. But yeah, I got a bunch of drills that we do, but I will say that we don't do a lot of drills unless it's bad weather. We do a lot of pole drop work. So they're taking off on, and we do pole vaulting to learn to pole vault, whether it's straight pole or bending. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. We had a question from
By the
Todd.
way, this is Sam, and again, this is beautiful. Nice open body, hips are engaged. Yeah, anyway.
Sorry. We had a question from Todd. Can you explain to everyone how being elastic at takeoff and still putting energy into the pole efficiently with your arms?
Well, and again, I look at it that you're putting energy into the pole with the body. So if you look at Hooker there, he's putting energy in the pole, but it's with the body. And when the left arm is a little bit more softer, and I hate to use soft because it's really not soft, but I really think that it allows the body to get this big stretch, and it's almost like the pulling of a bow and then letting go of the string or the snap of a whip. I really think that it moves the pole better, moves it faster. So I look at it that you're bending the pole with the body, not the arms. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Couple questions, and I think that question that Todd was asking as well kind of dealt with that the movement of like going from hollow to realigning. Like, can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. Realignment is basically you come into the pole, you're elastic, and you can't really realign unless you're elastic, have some sort of mobility into the pole. But what it is a forward and upward re-extension of the arms. It's almost like you're giving someone a high 10, but it only goes to 12 o'clock. So if you can see that I'm an old guy. I'm sure I look really funny doing this. I'm trying to go here at the very moment I initiate my swing. So someone told me once, and it's a really great quote, you have to swing against something. And so when you realign, you're initiating the swing by putting the pole here and then swinging through your arms, if that makes sense. So you're trying a forward motion, but also an upward motion, an extending motion with the shoulders against the swing. And couple that with the powerful, fast swing, you're upside down very, very quickly. The better vaulters today are realigning right off the ground when the toes are down. So Mondo, Lavellini, Tim Mack was a quick realigner. Potapovich was a quick realigner. That's the movement that comes after elastic. And it really keeps you under the pole and through the pole and not sneaking off and breaking to get beside it. So it's a very violent, quick, aggressive movement to 12 o'clock.
Another question is, and both on YouTube Live and here, a similar question was asked about the hips. You talked a little bit about the hips and moving the pole. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Years ago, I had a really great vaulter. He holds our school record, and he dropped his knee off the ground and swung like a gymnast because he was a gymnast. And I spent the summer, the following summer with Vitaly Petrov in Italy, and I showed him film and I said, everybody's telling me I need to change this. What do I do? And he looked at me and he laughed and he said, knee not important, it's the hips. So the moment we got back to work and focused on just the body opening so the hips led the action, about the knee anymore, and that's when he had his biggest PRs. He PR'd by 1.5 feet his sophomore year from 16.6 to 18.2 for 555 because we just worked on a pole drop so his posture was better. So when he hit his takeoff, he's jumping up instead of just getting picked up. And then we just focused on hips. And from that moment on, I worry about hips, not knee. Because if the knee tries to, quote, drive too long, the vaulter's going in the wrong direction. They're supposed to be going up, and they're not supposed to just go forward, then try to go up. So I really focus on the hips. Some kids, naturally, the knee comes up, some drop the knee. I really believe that some of the greatest vaulters we're going to see, they let the knee drop. Boy, there's more vaulters than you think that did it. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a powerful thing because it keeps the body away from the bend of the pole so you can get on top of it. So I don't really look at knees. I look at the hips.
There's another question you're talking about, then the athlete getting off the ground. If you're not really emphasizing a knee drive, is the athlete still jumping off the ground, or are they more running off the ground?
Yeah, they're jumping off the ground.
Okay.
But again, if you look at the attack of the pole, you have to look at it with the whole body. If the body opens up, the hips are going to go forward, and that gets the pole moving just before it bends and as it bends. So you have to look at what accelerates the pole is the body and not one particular part of the body.
How do you how do you make sure that it's not someone that's under? I know you talked a little bit about step here already, but someone they're not under, and that's kind of a false elastic position for some people versus being on.
You know, you got to, let me use one of my painting brushes so everybody can see. When you flip the pole, basically the top hand meets the left. And you're trying to push the pole with both arms to reach extension at the same time. So in other words, you shouldn't see the left arm go out and then the right arm is lazy and behind. Or you shouldn't see the right arm go up and the left arm freezes and stays here because the kids are thinking of swinging. You got to attack the vertical with both arms. Well, the funny thing about that movement, if a vaulter's thinking about accelerating the arms to hit the takeoff with straight arms, their feet go faster. And when the feet go faster, they take off farther out and close to free. So if the tip is active, which is really important, I don't want to get into the pole drop, but the pole has to be moving into the plant presentation, not held or frozen or stopped. And if the tip is active and then the vaulter's trying to beat his takeoff or beat the tip to the box, it's like a tag game. If the tip is hitting the box, the back of the box before it hits, you're trying to get the whole body straight so the body can open up into the bend. So if you're trying to do that, that gets your feet to turn over fast, and then you can adjust the steps so they can take off right on. So my vaulters typically do not take off under. If they have a problem with their pole drop, they take off under. So you have to look in the last 6 steps, the pole tip is moving, and then you're trying to beat your feet with your arms, hands before feet, and you're trying to get the arms extended before you hit the back of the box. Does that make sense?
Yeah. We have somebody asking where they can get more information about your philosophy on the pole drop. That might be another talk in itself.
That's another talk, yeah. But I can, if they email me, they can find out about, I can send them a bunch of drills if they're drill collectors. I hope they aren't. I don't do drills unless they relate to a kid's problem. If a kid has a certain issue with his left arm, the way he carries the pole, we do drills. We put a weight right here, or we use, kettlebell right here and try to get them to get the position better. So I try to create the drill for the problem of the kid. I don't do a lot of drills. We do a lot of straight pole vaulting, really, with non-bending poles, and we try to vault our way. So
we have another question. We talked a little bit about, so we've talked a lot about that elasticity at the plant, and somebody wants a little bit more clarification on the hollow position.
Yeah,
there.
and I didn't talk very much about that, but hollow is simply, and again, a lot of vaulters, it's almost like they're getting ready to hit something, like they're hitting a wall, and they react, and the shoulders stop, the arms are bent, and they're tense when they hit the takeoff. What we're trying to get you to do is, if I get full extension, like I'm going to squeeze my face off, then hit, that sets up a real beautiful extension and elastic position off the ground. So I don't want to be closed in the shoulders. I want to be totally, it comes from gymnastics, but it's just a nickname I give to full extension before you hit the back of the box. So that's what I call hollow. And then once you come in your elastic, then you're re-hollow right here to keep the hips away from the bend of the pole so you can swing right to the top. So hollow happens at the takeoff and also happens in realignment. So hollow is simply getting full extended, not tensing up for the plant.
Another question is, what do you have to say about Mondo dropping his pole tip onto the track and letting it slide into the back of the box?
Okay, so I will say this. Mondo has worked for the last 5 years on his pole drop. He called me once and he said, if I don't improve this drop, I'm never going to be great. And that was 4 years ago. Each year that he improved the carry of the pole, with it being more active, he's improved higher and higher and higher. He's still not perfect. He's 20 years old? He's still young. I don't like it. I understand what he's doing with it, but I think as he gets better, as he continues to develop, I think you're going to see a little bit less of a bounce and a little bit more active pole drop into his takeoff, which will pull his takeoff farther out, which will give him more extension for takeoff, and then it will jump 21 feet, which is absolutely ridiculous. But no, he is a kid that has worked on the little details for many years, more than anybody can know.
So you talked a lot about elasticity. You have a lot of, great knowledge. It's so convincing that this is what, people should be doing. But why are so many high school coaches coaching a stiff bottom arm, or why is it that way?
Well, I think what happens is if you get a kid to bend the pole really quickly, he can fall over bars and PR like by a foot, and he just thinks this is fantastic. But what I have found through the years that if you're blocking and braking, there's going to be a point where you can't jump any higher over your grip, that you get this plateau. So unless you're able to move your grip up, you're going to hit a freeze point in your improvement. However, the kids that I have learned that have figured out the elasticity part and the realignment part, in 1 year, they improved 2 feet. But they're developing the right mechanics of moving the pole so that the next year they improve another foot. And the next year they improve another 6 inches or a foot. So I really think if you take more time, if I'm talking to coaches here, I really believe that middle school and freshman, sophomore year, they shouldn't bend the pole at all, or maybe bend it slightly. There should be a lot of old-fashioned bamboo jumping out there. And so my kids that I work with, we never talk about bending a pole. We just talk about moving the pole. We talk about the positions that they hit, and then gradually the poles start bending. And so if you take longer at the beginning of trying to develop some sort of sense of movement with the pole, I think in the long run, they'll jump a lot higher.
Perfect. And yeah. And somebody just sent in a question. What do you mean by getting the left arm out of the way?
Well, if you have a narrow grip, if you have a wide grip, you're way out here when you strike the box. Then the only way to be elastic from there is you got to bring it into here. And that's okay. But if you you narrow the grip down, when both arms hit, look at the angle of the left arm when it hits the box. It's quite easy for you to be elastic or move into the pole with the grip is a little narrower. So I really believe that you narrow the grip enough that you get this out of the way, then you're not trying to control the drop. The drop's more free. Then you can get more extension, a higher angle of the pole at the takeoff with both arms. And then you're more apt to be elastic and use the whole body to jump. So I think sometimes they get a little wide and they start blocking themselves from being able to swing. So that's what I mean by getting the left arm out of the way. And that's why we do all the narrow grip drills and hand shifting drills to get them to use the body, not just the arms.
All right. I just want to check out looking at some of the questions here, but I think we answered most of them. I don't know if you have it.
I know that Scott's awake and Brian Okiyama's awake, so if they're awake, it's good. Okay. Good thing.
I don't know if you have them queued up or in your desktop there, but you had mentioned that PVC drill and some realignment. Do you have that available to show us?
You know what? Let me look. Let me move this. You guys realize I have thousands of films, so bear with me. If I can find it, I will share it. Okay. So
Perfect.
Talk amongst yourselves, guys.
There's another question that just came in. People want to know about your book. So this is your time to tell us about your book.
Okay. So yeah, Violent Ballet, which was coined by Jim B. Miller. About four and a half years ago, a couple of really great vaulters came up to me within a week of each other and they said, when are you going to write a book? And I just thought they were crazy. And so I decided to start working on it. So 4 years now, we've worked on this. It's got a lot of color, a little bit of history, a lot of stories, a lot of technique, a lot of inspiration, I hope. And it's just, it's nearly 50 years of pole vaulting. So I hope everybody enjoys it. It's been a long road, but we've got some good stuff in here. We try to touch on everything we can think of about the pole vault. It'll be available probably May 1st. If the university allows me to go and get the shipment and pick up the shipment and be able to store it because of all this stuff, everybody's locked away and locked out. But no, it's a lot of people have helped out with this book. It's been really incredible. It ends with Sam Kendricks flying in the air and floating down, which I think is a beautiful photograph of the reason we vault is to do that float. As you see, the bars stay up. So it's been a lot of work, but I think people get a lot out of it. I hope so anyway.
Perfect. Let me see. We had a couple other. There's just some people heckling in the comments there. So
I figured as much.
But no, we'll try to share out some more information through here as well. David has an amazing Facebook site as well that you can go to find information about his book. And I'm going to give another shout out here. I have a slide to share at the end here, but I'm just taking a look at the question is, what's the best way to get a hold of you, David?
Email or Facebook Messenger or phone call. You can find me on my Facebook site, The Vault, How Bamboo, Steel, and Fiberglass Changed Their Lives. Please join that group. I share a lot of historical images and film. Yes, if you want to get in touch with me, do Facebook message or email me or ask for my phone number and I'll send it to you.
All right. We have a couple more questions. We got a little bit more time, I think, here. So another one came in. If you didn't go in depth in straight pole jumps when you were in high school, so if I'm a coach now and I didn't do much straight poling stuff, what are some tips for relearning straight poling and things like that? I think the series that you showed us in this today was a good example. And there's been people joining consistently through this, so they might not have seen that. But so if that question was your question, Coach Butler covered that kind of at the beginning, and we'll be posting the YouTube live there. If you just search up Pole Vault Coaching Series on YouTube, you'll be able to find my stream. And as my daughters say, make sure you hit the thumbs up, the chime, all that other good stuff. No, I'm not trying to create my YouTube channel, but you can check all that out and rewatch this whole thing at a later date or share it to other people who weren't able to join us tonight. So I have one more slide to share before we close out tonight, and that is just next Friday. So next Friday we have Coach Jim B. Miller joining us, and we have Richie Mercado joining us as well. So Coach B. Miller will lead us off, and he'll be talking about pole vault maxims. He's the Coach Tim Mack and Lawrence Johnson and lots of other Tennessee vaulters, and was inducted in the National Pole Vault Hall of Fame. And then we have Richie speaking on elemental sprinting and related PV issues, posture, hip action, and motor control. So again, some great coaches sharing some information for us next Friday, same time, same place. And if we need to get Coach Butler back to talk about the pole drop, we will. And we also have Coach Kendricks maybe finishing up his five pieces. So again, thank you very much for everybody that stopped in tonight for this presentation. And make sure that you share it out with other people. We'll probably moving or migrating a little bit more towards the Facebook Live once we get that figured out, so that everybody can get in and observe it. We had about 250 watching this one and about 300 and some on Coach Kendrick. So I think there's a need, and we'll continue to share. If you have any recommendations of coaches that you think would be great to be on this channel and this show, make sure that you send them my way, Joel Block, and you can find me on Facebook, or if you just message me on the YouTube channel. Coach Butler, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody out there.
Thanks, Scott, Brian. See you guys. B. Miller.
Have a great night.